We're going to show you how to fill out a DS-160 form, which is the basic application that you need to fill out when applying for a US visa. So first what you do is you open the browser window. You could use Google Chrome or whatever search engine you use, and just search for how to apply for a US visa. I've already searched for it before, that's why it shows up. And the first website that you see, the search result, is ustraveldocs.com. This is their official website. Click on that and go to the home page, and you just scroll down, and under non-immigrant visa information, you click on DS-160 information. If you scroll down, you can find a link. The form DS-160 is online here, and you just click on that link like so, which will direct you to the application, to the form. As you can see, we have apply for a non-immigrant visa. So for the first thing you need to get started is select the location where you will be applying for this visa. So I'm applying from India, so there are quite some options: India Chennai, India Hyderabad, India Kolkata, Mumbai. I'm gonna go with India Mumbai just for the purpose of this video. I just like to mention that all names and addresses that are going to be given in the video is just completely random. So you need to enter the captcha code given, K86SD. Now under the three options, start an application, upload an application, retrieve an application, you need to click on start an application, since you're doing this for the first time. So now they give you an application ID as soon as you get started. This is my application ID. So what you need to do is you need to at least write this down somewhere, or take a screenshot of it on your phone or your computer and save it. So the point being, this is extremely important, this application ID, because all your future procedures will be, the way you get to access them is by this application ID. So make sure you save this. And now moving on, the first thing they ask you is a security question. There are quite some options you can choose from. So it could be, what is the given name of your father's father? What name did your family used to call you when you were a child? What is the name of your favorite childhood friend? So I'm gonna go with what is the name of your favorite childhood friend? And the answer to that would be Altaf. And I'm going to continue. So based on your preference, you could just choose any security question and then just move on. Make sure you remember what security question you chose. Now this is my application ID. Okay, so make sure you save your application ID when you get started. Now the first thing you're gonna see is a personal information page that you need to fill out. The first thing they ask is surname. So you need to give your surname, not your first name, but your surname. So in this case, I'm gonna go with Jose. In case there is only one name listed in your passport, enter that surname. Okay, so if just in case you just have one name, then listed in the passport, then you can enter that surname. Now your given name would be your first name, Joel, and full name in native alphabet does not apply. Have you ever, the questions, and then once you fill out such boxes, there usually are some questions that you need, yes or no questions that you need to answer. These are just simple questions that you can just take a look at and answer. Have you ever used other names? That is maiden name, religious name, profession. Under, like, suppose you're a married woman and you used to and you change your name to that of your husband's, your surname. So in that case, you would have used another name before. So that's what they're asking. So if you have used another name, if you have changed your name to something else recently, then you need to click on yes. If no, then it's no. Do you have a telecode that represents your name? I don't have one, so I'm just gonna go with no. Gender, male. Marital status, I'm not married, so I'm gonna go with single. If you're married, you need to enter that. Date of birth, 1st December 1996. The next thing, city. They're asking you for your city of birth, place of birth, so I'm going to go with Mumbai. State, Maharashtra. Country, India. So I'm just giving random names and addresses here right now. So this is how it's just to give you an idea of how to fill out the form. Now once you fill this out, you need to save it immediately, just in case you don't lose this information and it just reloads. So now once you save that, you need to continue application. Sorry. Save. Now just click on the next section. And the next question is region of origin, country of origin, India. Do you hold or have you held any nationality other than the one indicated above nationality? What they're asking is basically, are you a dual citizen or do you have a citizenship in another country? I don't, so the answer is no. Are you a permanent resident of a country other than your country? If you are, then click on yes. If you are not a permanent resident of any other country, if you're just a permanent resident of India, then click no. Your national identification number. I'm just going to give a random number here. US Social Security number. If you haven't visited the US before, then you need to click does not apply. Your US taxpayer ID number, that too, if you haven't visited before, then you wouldn't have one, so does not apply. You save that. Move on to travel. So travel information. The purpose of trip to the US. They're basically asking you why you're visiting the US. So in general cases, it's usually just temporary business pleasure visitor. Temporary business pleasure visitor. Depending on your case, like what your purpose is, like if you're visiting as a foreign government official, as a diplomat, in the case of like some kind of national conference for your country, representing your country or something like that, then that would be what you need to click here. And usually I just go with usually people just go with temporary business pleasure visitor. Now you need to specify, is it business and tourism, business conference, or tourism medical treatment. So I'm just going to go with business and tourism. It's a leisurely visit. So have you made specific travel plans? If you have, yes. If you haven't, no. So in this case, I'm going to go with no. Now what they're asking is your intended date of arrival. If you have planned an intended date, then you need to click on the dates to March. September 2020. Intended length of stay 1 month. Person paying for the trip. Now they're asking your address where you will be staying, and I'm just giving a random address, Richland Avenue. Street address optional, city Athens. It's just a random one depending on your case, like where exactly you're going to visit. You need to make sure you give the correct address. Person paying for the trip, self. If it's a business trip and your employer is going to be paying for it, then you need to mention that. Now there's just been an error, I haven't mentioned the intended. Okay, 1 month. I just had to mention the intended length of stay, that's why it showed an error. We're going to save that. Next thing, travel companions. Just a minute. Persons traveling with you. Are there any other persons traveling with you? If the answer is yes, then there are going to be some additional questions. If no, then you can just move on. So depending on what your case is, if you have someone traveling with you, then you need to mention that. Now they're asking previous US travel information. If you've previously visited the US, you need to mention that. So have you ever been in the US? I haven't, so no. Have you ever been issued a US visa? No. Have you ever been refused a US visa or withdrawn your application for admission at the port of entry? No. So these are all questions related to have you been in the US before. If you've never been in the US before ever, then you can just click no on all of them. If you have no such connection with the country whatsoever, and then just save that. Address, and the next section is address and phone. Let's move on to that. Street address, this is your personal information, as in street address at home, so you need to give an address. I'm gonna go with Bombay Street, city Mumbai, Bombay Street 101, state Maharashtra, select country India, postal code 631716. Is your mailing address the same as, if your mailing address is the same as your home address, you can just click yes. Your primary phone number, you need to give your phone number. Right here they're asking you for your phone number, so I'm just going to go with something random. Have you ever used any other phone numbers in the last 5 years? If you have, you need to say yes. If no, then just no. Your email address, so I'm just giving a random email address. If you have used any other email address in the last 5 years, click yes. If no, then no. So now they're asking, do you have a social media presence? What they're basically asking is, have you ever used any of these? Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. So I'm just going to go with Twitter, and they're going to ask you what your Twitter handle is, or if you click on Instagram, what your Instagram handle is. I'm just going to go with Joel. So what you need to mention here is if you have a social media presence, and if you need to mention which platform you've used and what your identifier is. Now they're asking, do you wish to provide information about your presence on any other website or something? So I don't really want to do that, so I'm just going to click no. What they're asking here basically is, do you want to add to that, like if you have participated, sorry, if you have another account or you have been present in other websites, you need to clear that up. Now there seems to be some sort of error. I haven't given a secondary phone number. I should have clicked does not apply. Does not apply. They're asking work phone number. Does not apply. So in case you're not giving any secondary phone number and stuff, you need to make sure you tick on the box does not apply. Now I'm gonna save that. Now the next is passport. They're asking what travel document type. Is it a regular passport? Yes, it is. Passport number. I'm just going to give a random number here. Passport book number. Again, a random number. The country or authority that issued that passport, India. Where was the passport issued? You need to give the city. So I'm going to give Mumbai. The state, if show where it was issued, if it's shown on the passport, Maharashtra. Country, India. Issuance date, 1st December 2019. Expiration date, 1st December 2029. Have you ever lost a passport or had one stolen? If you have, you need to click on yes. If your passport has never been lost or stolen, then no. Now you need to save that. Once you've done this, you need to move on to the next section, which is US contact. What they're gonna ask here is if you know anyone else in the US. If you have any person, an acquaintance or a friend or a family member in the US. If you don't, then you just click on do not know. They're gonna ask organization name, do not know. Relationship to you, okay, I just said do not know. So apparently because it's a business trip, you can't just click that you just don't know anyone. So organization name, I'm gonna give what is good. Relationship to you, employer. Now they're gonna ask the address of the organization. So I'm gonna go with 10411 Richland Avenue, City, Athens, State, Ohio, zip code 5555, phone number 500. Email address, So basically the zip code is invalid. That was an accident. Since this is just like for tutorial purposes, we don't need a zip code, but if you are actually applying, you need to make sure that all the information is accurate. We're just going to save that and move on to the next section, which is family. So your father's full name, his surname first. Surname would be John. Given name, let's give George. Date of birth 11 December 1964. Is your father in the US? No. Now you need to give your mother's name, which would be Joella, or we could just go with Isabella Johnson, I suppose. Date of birth 1st December 1967. Is your mother in the US? No. In case you have any immediate relatives, or if your parents are staying, you need to mention that. And if you have any immediate relatives, you need to mention that also. If not, then you can just click no and save. Do you have any other relatives in the United States? No. Okay. Let's there seems to be an issue. Okay, we could access this page. Now make sure that all the information you provide is actually accurate and based on some document you have, like such as a certificate or something else, so that there aren't any mistakes. Present work training information. They're asking you your primary occupation. I'm just gonna go with communications and save that. Present employer. What is good? Street. Yes. Oh, it needs to be India. So just, I'm just giving a random address for my employer. Depending on what your employer's name is, which in case you have an occupation and it's not a leisurely visit and you're paying for it yourself, and depending on what your occupation is, you need to fill that out. So if suppose you're in the education field, you need to mention that. If you're a teacher, so I just gave communications. The start date, 11th June 19. Monthly income, I'm just gonna go with does not apply. Briefly describe your duties, I suppose that's optional. They're asking for a postal code. Okay, that isn't optional. We're gonna go with and briefly describe your duties. handle client communication, feedback to the office. I'm just giving a random duty description. Depending on what your work field is, you need to make sure it's clear and to the point. Now let's just see if we can. So we can't. We need to fill out each section. So were you previously employed? I'm just gonna go with no because I wasn't. Have you attended any educational institution at the secondary level or above? So you most likely have. Yes, you need to save that. Now you need to mention the name of the institution. I'm gonna go with Dr. Ambedkar School. Street address or Bombay Street again, I guess. City Mumbai, State Maharashtra. Postal code does not apply. Oh wait, we need a postal code. Select country, India. Course of study, you need to mention what course you took, and I am gonna go with computer science because that's what I took. Date of attendance form, you need to mention what year you attended. So I'm gonna go with the first. Sorry, June 2014 till for 2 years, so that would be 1st August 2016. Sorry, this would be March. And moving on, you need to save that information. So basically what you need to do is they'll ask you about your work information, what you've been working, what you work as, your education background, such as where you've studied, what the institution's name is, the address, so and so, and they'll ask some additional questions. Do you belong to a clan or a tribe? So in case you do, then you need to mention that, but I don't, so no. Provide a list of languages you speak. English, add another, so I'm gonna add another Hindi. And moving on, have you traveled to any other countries or regions within the last 5 years? I haven't, but if you have, you need to click yes. If you haven't, then no. Do you belong to or have you worked for any professional, social or charitable organization? Yes, because I have given that I work in an organization, so you need to give the organization's name. That is good. So basically, in case they ask this, you need to give and you're going for a business trip, then you need to mention your employer's name, since you will be belonging to that organization. Now, do you have any specialized skills or training such as firearms, explosives? No, not at all. Have you ever served in the military? No. Have you ever served in or been a member of or been involved with a paramilitary unit, vigilante unit, rebel group, guerrilla group? Nope. These are all questions regarding any if you have been engaged in some sort of rebellious activities. So just to make sure that you're on the safe side, no. Now security and background, this is important. Now they're going to ask you a lot of questions uh, about whether you have any disease, whether you have any disorder that poses a threat to somebody, are you a drug addict, stuff like that. So make sure you don't click on the wrong icon. Do you have a communicable disease of public health significance? So these are the following are the kinds of diseases that they provided. So based on this, if you have some sort of infectious disease, you need to make sure you mention that. So I'm going to go with no. Do you have a mental or physical disorder that would pose a threat to the safety of yourself? So this includes such things such as schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. So if you've been diagnosed with something like that, you need to mention that. Otherwise, no. Are you a drug user or addict? No. Now save. Let's move on to the next part. Have you ever been arrested or convicted for any offense or crime? No, I haven't. I don't have a criminal background. Have you ever violated or have you engaged in a conspiracy to violate such laws? No. Are you coming to the, well, some of the questions are really, invasive. So just make sure you give them a thorough read. They're basically asking if by your visit you intend to engage in any unlawful activity or if you have a criminal record. So make sure that you specify, you make it clear that you don't have a criminal record if you don't. So no. Have you been involved in money laundering? No. Human trafficking? No. Have you knowingly aided, abetted, assisted, or colluded with an individual who has committed such crimes? No. Are you the spouse, son, or daughter of such an individual? No. And then I'm gonna save that. So just make sure that if you have a clean record and no past criminal activity, then you just make that clear. Do you seek to engage in espionage or any other illegal activity? No. Terrorist activities? No. Have you ever provided financial assistance to terrorists? No. Are you a member of a terrorist organization? No. So, are you the spouse, son, or daughter of such an individual? No. Have you ever ordered or been a part of genocide? No. Have you ever been a part of torture, engaged in torture? No. So these are the kinds of questions they're going to be asking. So make sure you click on no for everyone to make sure you have to specify, to make it clear that you don't have a criminal record. And these are all some sensitive questions. So make sure you give them a thorough read. Okay. So these are all related to some criminal activity. So make sure you read them clearly, thoroughly, and make your answer clear. Fraud or willful misrepresentation? No. Have you ever been removed or deported from any country? If you have, you need to mention that. If no, then no. So save and continue. So part 5, have you ever withheld custody of a US citizen child? No. Have you voted in the United States in violation of? No. Have you ever renounced United States citizenship? no. So once you save that, you've basically completed your application, and continue application. So I have completed the application. Next, what you need to do is you need to review your application. Once you save it, make sure you save it, make sure you've saved the application ID, and you need to provide photos. The photo will be taken at the ASC, and so this is your application. You can review it. As you can see, you can take a print of it, and this is how it is. So hopefully this video was helpful in helping you figure out how to fill out a DS-160 form. So that's how you apply for a US visa. Now you can, once you've reviewed your application and made sure there are no errors, what you need to do is you need to complete it. Take a print of it and add your signature. So basically you can access your application anytime within the next 30 days using your application ID, which is given here. And thank you all for watching. Hope you have a nice day.